reconvenes the council.
Second.
Okay, motion made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We had our executive session, no votes were taken. I want to call the Hopkinton Town Council meeting of April 4th, 2016 to order with a moment of silent meditation. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on our agenda is the consent agenda. Approved town council meeting minutes of March 7th, 2016. Special town council meeting minutes of March 24th, 2016. Approved refund due to overpayment submitted by the tax collector.
There was some correction.
Yeah.
That's what we don't understand. Yeah, I'd like to pull the March 7th for a minute, even though I wasn't there, can I pull?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to pull that.
You have to understand that one. Motion to approve the refund due to overpayment submitted by tax collector and the town council meeting minutes of March 24th.
I want to pull that one.
Okay? Approve the refund due to overpayment submitted by the tax collector.
Second.
Okay, motion made second. Who wants to go first?
Just the March 24th, I was here, so I'll abstain from it.
Okay.
You want me to move that
Yeah,
special?
please.
I'll move that we approve the special town council meeting minutes of March 24th.
Second.
Okay, motion made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I abstain.
Mr. President, if we continue, there was a motion made and seconded to approve the refund, but there was not a vote taken.
Oh, okay. Let's, motion made second on the refund. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's good.
Thanks, sir.
All right, so we have to pull which one?
Meeting March 7th.
March 7th. Okay, what page, folks?
Well, the Bobby made some corrections on March 7th, I see already here.
Uh,
Somebody be corrected.
I think that's Lisa.
This is-
I made the correction.
Okay,
Stand corrected.
can I ask a question? A couple words here. Top line of page 9, it says, have to work out numbers wise. Does that mean wisely? Would that be wisely for the users in order to handle?
I think it is work out number-wise for the user.
Number wise.
Oh, I see. Okay, so it's the,
It should be hyphenated with parentheses.
yeah. Page 10, a little below halfway down, see the line says RFQ, right below that it says able to better their homes. I don't, what is it? Is that how it came, you said it?
All right.
A little one halfway down, it says RFQ, just below that it says able to better their homes. Should be able
She
to.
commented that the people on the water line should be better able to,
Should be
able to better their homes, improve the homes.
Okay, yeah.
Would you like it clarified
Sure.
further?
Sure.
If you could, yeah. Oh, wait, I'm sorry to do this, but page 10, a little below halfway down the line, it says can be done. It said, Mr. Marchand noted that that was why it should be, there is a need, I guess, for an engineer. Should you insert the words, there is a need, right here, can be done. See what it says, can be done, page 11. No, yeah, but it says can be done, it says Mr. Marchand noted that was why, it should say there is a need, instead of why
That was
that
why
need.
the need for an engineer, so once we receive it, it's another, it's just a way of,
Say it,
yeah,
okay.
if you want to change, you can change it.
And then 4 lines down from that, 5 lines down, it says wished we could do it. I mentioned it should be inserted there. That's all I can say.
Okay.
Sorry.
Motion to approve the minutes of March 7th with the additions and corrections.
Second.
Okay, motion made second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
We have to abstain.
Oh, I'm stating.
I'm sorry, David, I'm simply mistaken. Okay, first public forum. Anyone out there wishing to be heard tonight on any agenda item? Okay. Town Council President report. I have a brief update on the tax interest waiver ordinance. We always get our packets And I'm always surprised as how many people take advantage of the ordinance that we adopted and I sponsored. It was, to date, I guess it was 32 taxpayers for a total of $411.49. This is if they have not been late on a tax bill in the last 5 years. And if they're late in that quarter, we can waive the interest. And it seems like it's pretty popular. I'm amazed at some of the amounts that people are willing to seek a waiver, but hey, you know, it's a nice thing, and it's a great ordinance. I think that allows some 32 taxpayers to avoid some interest penalties, and it didn't amount to a lot of money for the town, so that's that. Then this past Saturday, Barbara and I and some school committee members and the other town council presidents from Richmond and Charlestown were out for breakfast with Barry. He gave us an update on the RISE facility that's in the process of being refurbished. I guess all the legislation has been sent to the 5 state delegation that represent our area. A RIDE packet has been sent to RIDE, I guess. And then just waiting for the RIDE approval that would dictate, I guess, the percentage of housing aid. So we're waiting for that. I think the numbers may have been based on a minimum of 56%, and then I think the figures are based on 60% to a maximum of 61%. And then I also got an update on the recreation grant that we're going to be talking about today in the agenda. So that was it. It was a pretty good meeting. And then we went to Artisy. I was tagging along with Assistant Superintendent Jane Daly. She took me around, and I think Barbara went.
It's amazing what they can do, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're so young and they do such.
It was a rainy day, so it was crowded. All sports got canceled, so it was fun. It was a good time. So that's that. Okay, next is the town manager report right here.
Thank you. On March 24th, Planner Jim Lanfear, Tim Teft, Jeff Marchand, and Engineer Gordon Priest and I attended the pre-bid meeting for the proposed town hall generator project. 4 contractors attended the pre-bid meeting and a site inspection that followed. The bids are scheduled to be open on April 7th with a bid award on either April 18th or May 2nd. March 28th, Jim Lanfear, Sean Henry, and I attended another pre-bid meeting for the proposed Hope Valley Waterline Extension Engineering Services. Although we fielded several requests for copies of the RFQ, no engineer showed up for this meeting, which was kind of expected because it's just engineering services. The bids are scheduled to be open on April 14th with a bid award on May 2nd. And lastly, on March 30th, Council President Franklin Adolfi, Solicitor Kevin McAllister, and I attended a real estate closing in Rhode, which involved the transfer of ownership of 2.15 acres from the state of Rhode Island to the town of Hopkinton. The town obtained this property on Palmer Circle for the sum of $1. Special thanks to Jim Lanfear, Tim Teft, Brian Rosso, and my secretary, Courtney Highland, for all their hard work and time that they put into this project to make it so successful.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions for Bill, guys? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to leave new business in front of old business.
Second.
Okay, motion made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. So, under new business, we're going to discuss, consider, and vote to sponsor 2 Rhode Island Recreation Acquisition and Development Grants submitted by Charo Hill School District entitled Enhancing the Community's Recreational Resources. First, a larger grant that's being sought through DEM is a concession stand and restroom project. I believe that's $350,000 or thereabouts. And the second is an outdoor volleyball court that I think is around $30,000. They both have in-kind percentages of 20% that need to be met first. So Barry can certainly speak to if we don't get the in-kind contributions. I think we've got some to date, maybe 20,000 on the larger one. We need 60,000. If that doesn't come true, I guess you'll have to revise the grant. None of the money is coming from the towns, our 3 towns, including us in Hopkinton. It's all being given by a grant through DEM. So, you want to come and just give an overview, Barry?
So Frank, you didn't mention the delicious banana bread.
Oh, that's okay. Barry made it himself, it was very good, thank you, Barry.
So, let me introduce you to Mike Kirby. He's a Hopkinton resident, and is also the president of our Sports Boosters Association. Mike's over there. So Mike's been a partner in putting this proposal together. So DEM will not accept an application from the district. And that's why I'm asking each of the towns to be the applicant for the grant. This is a model that they used in Exeter, West Greenwich when the Exeter, West Greenwich track was put in, because Exeter, West Greenwich was not a legal applicant because it wasn't a municipality. So Exeter applied and West Greenwich applied, and then it became the property of the Exeter, West Greenwich School District. So that's why we're following that same model with these grants. The bigger grants, as the council president said, is for the concession stand and restrooms. Those were part of the original Campus 2010 project, but the bids came in so high that we decided not to pursue the project at that time. The grants require a 20% in-kind match, so Mr. Kirby is working on getting donations for the in-kind. We have $20,000 to date, and we're looking for an additional $40,000 of services. So we have Mr. Kirby's excavation company is doing a certain amount of work, and we have an electrical contractor that's doing a certain amount of work, and that will go toward the 20% match. So we're trying very hard not to put any cash in, and just use the match. That grant also calls for the installation of a composting toilet on the southern part of the campus, so we'll stop renting porta johns, which is what we've been doing. The second grant, which is a much smaller one, is we'll put an outdoor volleyball court on the campus. We'll use it during physical education classes, and it will be available for the public to use also. That grant is about $30,000, and we need a 20% match for that also.
Okay, who wants to start, Bob?
I just have a question. Now, my understanding is that this is a grant through DEM that you're taking through the municipalities, but if the municipality, if Hopkinton by itself wanted to take out a grant with DEM for another project, we could do it concurrently with yours.
Absolutely.
So anyone in
Anyone
town
can,
can
yes.
do that.
Yes.
We're just happen to do this one
Joint.
jointly with the other towns. But we are open to doing our own as well if we so
Absolutely.
choose.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. David?
No, I kind of like the idea. Yeah.
About time, actually. They needed it for decades, because I used to serve on that one concession stand when it was a little shack.
It's still
right
The prices don't go up.
Oh,
I
that's
said, I
right.
hope the prices don't go up in the concession stands.
Are you going to expand the menu?
The menu, I think they're going to try to do a little more cooking in the new concession stand. We take the food all comes in now from
Yeah.
outside sources, so we have to do a little more cooking. Maybe expand the menu a little bit, more healthy eating, maybe.
Oh. I was thinking cheeseburgers myself, but that's okay.
French fries.
That's their main fundraiser. The boosters use that
Sure.
for their main fundraising, and that money all goes back into the athletic program, which is, so they'll probably, increase their revenue if they have a better facility.
Mhm.
People will be more comfortable because they'll have bathrooms that are not porta johns. So I think it's a win-win, especially if we get it. If we don't, we try.
So,
The funds from the concession stand, do they go directly to sports?
Yes, all the funds go to support
Okay,
athletics.
so it's not going back in the general fund?
No.
Okay.
So, like, for example, if we have a wrestling team won the state title, the boosters often will buy jackets for the kids. They do a banquet at the end of the year. If there's a special piece of equipment that people are clamoring for, that we need to put in the budget, they'll find the funds for it. They do all the banners in the gym. So a lot of the extra things that are not in our budget, and they're very willing to jump in at any time. They're doing their Hall of Fame induction ceremony Saturday night.
The only other question I had is whether or not the town is currently, or not applying for this grant. I don't, I tried to look for Harvey's number earlier and I didn't find it. I didn't know if he was applying for,
I called Mary.
and
They're not.
they're not.
She wrote a letter in favor of the grant for the
Good.
school system.
Yeah.
Because I was concerned that, why aren't we trying to get this for the gazebo
Or are we competing
No,
against?
we're not.
Good.
We're not. So, I did talk to Mary yesterday concerning this to find out where her stand was.
and she was all in favor of it.
Okay.
John, do you have anything for that?
No,
Mr. Lanfair, yes, in the back row.
Some of you probably know that I'm trying to get Langworthy Field developed, and I happen to be applying for a grant for $400,000 for that in the same category. Now, my question is, could Richmond or Charlestown be the sponsor of this? In other words, they would have to actually apply for it rather than Hopkinton, because what goes along with this grant, first of all, is yes, we can have multiple applications. We have to prioritize them. So it'll be up to you to say you want Langworthy Field number one. And again, when one town might have 3 applications now for this thing, we're going to be competing against ourselves. So I would rather see Charlestown or Richmond provide this application for this project. It's a great project, but I mean, we're just trying to develop a strategy here. Also, you have to have a public hearing on these applications, and I intend to have a public hearing with the council on my application for Langworthy on May 2nd. Now, I don't know if Mr. Ritchie has, prepared any plans for a public hearing for this, but that's, if we're going to provide this application to the state, then that's what we're going to have to do right here, is have a public hearing on all 3 of our applications. So, I would rather not have us get involved with this if we don't have to.
Well, I don't know.
So,
Jim? So,
I'd rather see if Charlestown or Richmond has any applications going to DEM this year for that same program. If they don't, I'd rather see it go there and let them handle it.
yeah, since it's a regional school district, I'm not sure if Barry would have to answer that
Well, I
question.
think
Jim,
he's gonna apply for you.
does Mary know about this? 'Cause she,
Mary knows about Langworthy Field, yes.
okay, but maybe she might have thought it's a different grant or something like that. because
Yep.
When I talked to her, that was my concern, was to find out on that, and she was all in favor of going forward with this.
Well, it's a wonderful program.
Oh, I understand that, I
hope they get it,
understand
but
that.
It's up to you. Whatever decision the council makes is fine with me. If
Well, it's just,
Well, the other thing is, if you're applying, what part of Langworthy Field are you pushing for the 400,000? Is that?
Well, as you know, it's a 3-phase project.
That's
We hope
correct.
to do phase 1 this summer. This $400,000 will enable us to go forward and do phase 2 and phase 3, probably in the summer of 2017.
All right, now, if we did not, weren't you looking for CDBG funds also
Correct.
with that, to pay for this?
Right. It's an $800,000 project, in excess of $800,000. So I need this 400, and I've been piecemealing together CDBG money. I have probably about 250,000 right now from CDBG. But that's going to go, most of that's going to go towards phase 1 this summer. So if I don't get this 400,000, it's going to be years before we do Langworthy Field, phase 2 and phase 3.
yes, Paul.
So that means that if we have Langworthy and Charahoe on this, we could still put Langworthy first, if we had to do that, and then Charahoe second.
Correct.
But Charahoe may still have a good chance of getting it because all 3 towns have agreed to it. I'm not sure, I think that's something we could ask, and I'm sure that Barry will be able to answer something about having Richmond or Charleston, or if we do it as a triad. And I'd like to hear his opinion on that, but certainly I would assume that we may want to put Langworthy first if we have to do that.
Okay, why don't we let Barry respond to this?
So let me offer you a couple of solutions to this. First of all, if you need a letter of support for Langworthy, I'm happy to write it for you.
Yes, because the children use it all the time.
Absolutely.
Matter of fact, it's part of the
So
school.
the joint application for the Charahoe campus will be the first priority of the joint applications. The application from Hopkinton will be the first priority from the town of Hopkinton. So they both can fit in the first priority category. You don't have to make one number 1 and one number 2. They're going to compete against each other anyway, whether you sign on to this one or not. Because if it just goes in with Richmond and Charlestown, which might be seem a little bit odd to the state, they're going to be competing with each other anyway. And if we are lucky, we'll get both. And so I don't see why this one can't be a first priority for joint application, and your application is the first priority from the town of Hopkinton.
So it makes sense to me.
Yes, it does.
They just need our support, I guess, the rec needs a vote, I guess, on this if we can, and let's see if we can make it happen, I guess. Sure, David.
Is there such a thing as a primary sponsor and a secondary sponsor? Can we just sign on to this situation, but allow Richmond or Charleston to be the primary sponsor of this, so it doesn't look like all three of us are primary, if you want to call it that?
So, the letter that I'm asking you to sign, I've already shared with DEM,
Yeah.
and they're satisfied with that letter. The difficult thing for us is that we are not an eligible applicant.
Right,
So you, the three towns, formed the district.
right.
So therefore, what DEM is saying is if three towns sign on as the applicants, then they're good with that.
All of us are equal then.
Yes.
It can't be a lead town.
I didn't ask that question, but that's the,
I think that's what Jim's looking for. Jim's looking for, maybe Richmond will take the lead on this. We'll just say, we support this. We'll sign on to this thing. But Richmond will be primary request.
it's not really, I don't think it's a matter of a lead or not, but the grant is going to go forward regardless.
Yeah.
And they're going to compete with each other.
Yeah.
As the two grants that we submit will also compete with each other.
I also think Charleston and Richmond may have things that are competing as well.
yeah.
Maybe I can help with a motion that would satisfy everybody. Move that we move to, sponsor the two Rhode Island Recreation Acquisition and Development Grants to be submitted by the Rhode School District. And, you had some language in here. And also, you would be financially responsible for the implementation, for the administration.
Right, in that letter,
So make that part of
it
the
made it
letter.
very clear that the district would assume ownership. There would be no maintain it, there would be no financial obligation on the part of any of the towns.
Well, okay, so, my motion so far is reading, Lisa, if you would read back as far as we got, as far as I got.
To sponsor the two grants to be submitted by the Charter Regional School District, and that they're financially responsible for all the obligation and implementation of the grants.
Okay, yeah, does that sound good? And that, knowing our planning department will be submitting a Rhode Island Recreation Acquisition Development Grant for the Langworthy project, that we support the Langworthy, we also support the Langworthy project as a primary project.
I think that's a little complex.
I know, I just wanted to get it all in one motion. It's like a book.
I don't know if that's.
I think I'd like to just have
Let's
us
sponsor
sponsor this, and we know when Jim brings it forward, we'll be sponsoring his in full as well, because that'll be May 2nd. So I don't have any problem sponsoring both, because we're going to have this happen any number of times, I think. I'd like to make a motion to...
Well, let me withdraw. I'll
Well,
withdraw
there was
that
no
motion,
second.
which is fine.
There was no second.
There was no second.
Yeah, so-
So I can make the motion.
Most of it, that's right.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to sponsor the two Rhode Island Recreation and Acquisition Development Grants to be submitted by Rhode School District entitled Enhancing Community Recreational Resources. One is the concession stand and restroom project, two outdoor volleyball court project.
Second.
Okay, motion made and second. Any other discussion, guys? The only thing I may want to add is, I guess if it helps, Jim, we can maybe ask Barry or in the district to send a letter on behalf of our project at Langworthy, if you think that might help. More the merrier, right? So,
Am I correct that we can also, when it comes time, we prioritize these situations and we can put
At the hearing.
Langworthy first and put the volleyball.
We could do it then.
Second, yeah, so that'll show where we stand on the situation.
Actually, it makes more sense to do it after a hearing rather than now.
Yeah.
Before it's been
Oh,
submitted.
yeah.
So I just want to clarify about prioritizing. The grants that are going in under the auspices of the three towns are separate, so you can prioritize yours as number one
Right,
for the town of Hopkinton.
that's what I'm thinking.
And the ones from the town, the three towns are going to be prioritized, one for the concession and two for the volleyball. So they'll both go in
Uh-oh.
at once.
The question I have is that what entity is actually going to prepare this application to DEM? And who is going to have the public hearing on it?
The school committee will have a public hearing on it. A
Okay,
public vote.
so what entity is gonna fill out the application as I'm doing for language?
The district will.
The district will. You can't submit, you just said you can't submit it directly yourself.
That's why I'm asking for this action.
For approval,
I
yeah.
think all three towns have to sign off on it
Yes.
once you develop it, right? Yeah. You just sign that paper, I think.
The district will take care of all the in-kind
Everything.
contributions, the maintenance ultimately gets approved, and if it doesn't get funded, it doesn't get funded.
Jim, I don't think that there's, I don't believe that this is going to supersede the Langworthy Field application. I don't see that happening. I think it's, we may sign off on several other grants, but we're going to, when we ask for money for all these projects, we're going to put Langworthy Field on the top of the list. We're going to say this is our number one.
Sure.
That's the way to go.
So when we come back from May 2nd and have a public hearing on the grant that I'm doing for Langworthy, are we gonna have like 3 applications here?
No, it's separate. You'd be
And-
The
going-
district's taking care of the one that we're sponsoring with the other 2 towns, and you're doing the Langworthy with us.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, you want to write it?
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion, guys? Matt? Okay, having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was new business. Now, we're going to the old business. Discuss, consider, and vote on a proposed rental rehab program application material prepared by the Affordable Housing Partnership, subject to the review of the town solicitor in consultation with Rhode Island Housing, if necessary. Number 1, Town of Hopkinton rental rehab grant loan checklist. Number 2, draft public notice rental rehab program March 2016. Hopkinton rental rehabilitation program application for investor-owned properties. Number 4, Hopkinton rental rehab program tenant application. And finally, number 5, items to be submitted with the application. Now, I know we had been through this a couple times. Barbara wanted this on the agenda. I thought we were all set with it, but I'll let Barbara have this, because you kind of wanted me to put this on the agenda.
Yeah,
I think you were under the impression that we had to approve the application. Okay, I thought we already did.
we had to approve the application, and I thought you would like to speak about that?
Yeah, I
Because
can
I
answer
think
any
you've done a very
questions
good job with it.
or concerns you have. What specifically would you question and want to know about this? Excuse me.
Now that we have all of the different things that the Affordable Housing Partnership has put together,
These are the things that we'll put together for the application checklist so it can be managed in process in an organized way. It starts off with the notice to clients, which is the town of Hopkinton, we have, let's see, the public notice, okay. After somebody reads that, it gives them a brief description of what the program was intended to do, and the process that they need to go through, and what will be required from them, which is a deed restriction for the 30-year period and everything. Okay. The checklist itself is just a management tool, which basically, once everything on that application, or everything that's been checked on the checklist is in, you've got a guide so that you're not looking at something 4, 5, 6, 7 times. You're only looking at it once, and you say, hey, you didn't get this item, we need this item to make a decision. And it'll stop a lot of questions in the application, because once somebody reviews the application, I know in lending it's hard to remember the laundry list of 60 items long usually, which changes occasionally. So that's the object of that particular document. The items, the tenant application, basically just ask the basics of the rental, what the person's income is, what the rental is, how many rooms, what type of services they're getting out of it. The application from the investor on property just asks basically information about the property, the ownership, the monthly rents, and the description of the work that needs to be done on the property. We've also asked that and there's the agreement, which basically goes through for the owner, and excuse me, I just get a little bit, I haven't been feeling too well, so I get a little bit off track here. That's for the owner, the investor owner, so that he knows what he needs to do, what he needs to agree with, basically, goes through. So everybody's informed from the outlook. They can't come, or not that they can't come back, but it's gonna stop a lot of coming back and say, gee, I was never informed of this, I didn't know about this. I didn't know this is the information that you needed. It also provides, when the application comes back to the council, the town manager, the finance people, whatever else, hey, we've got all the information that we need, it's all in this packet, I can make a decision. These people have overlooked it, they haven't seen any problems with it, and it's an extra eye in the whole thing. We've asked that the items to be submitted, which is the application, a copy of the property tax, a copy of the property insurance, proof of ownership, and signed tenant applications be provided back to Jim. And this way that we can keep a track of the applications that have come in and that we've sent off to the consortium. Okay.
Well, I think you've done a really good job on it. I think it's really pretty thorough and really kind of complete. I have one question on it.
Yeah.
On the tenant's information, do they need to have that, for instance, if they're renovating a space that has not been used for low income at this point, do they have to have that tenant information, tenant name, rent, before they've finished the work and then gotten an application? Or is that something that can obviously happen after?
No, if you've got, take an instance where you have a empty rental unit right now and you're going to renovate it. No, you wouldn't have the tenant information.
So you wouldn't need to do all of this until afterward?
Right. In other words, what happens is, under this program, once this would be approved, the owner has to have a monitoring agent. And the monitoring agent checks the income levels, 1040s, W-2s, etc., to make sure that they hit the program. They also monitor what's being charged for the rent. The tenant information will only be used on units that currently have tenants in them.
Right, so this application, this part of the application, the rental rehab program application, that has the tenant's information wouldn't have to be done ahead of time, would be done after the fact.
It can be, it would be done after the fact if the units were empty.
Right, correct. If you have no
Because
tenants, right.
what you need to know, under this program, the way that somebody qualifies, they need to be income eligible, under 80%. The rent has to be
Correct.
median.
All that
Everything has to be in there. So on a existing unit, you have to know what the people's income is and what the rental is.
I think my concern or my question is not about the tenants, but about the people applying for the application to renovate, who own the property.
Okay,
And are
do-
not low income. So there are things that they cannot do until they're further along, but that doesn't stop their application.
No, it doesn't stop their application as long as they're empty units. If they're full units, you'd have to have that before they start
And
going.
when they ask for a photo ID, do they need a photo of the property?
No, a photo of the person
Of the
who
person?
owns the property.
'Cause
That
there's,
may sound very odd.
well, no, there's two places for photo ID. One is under owner, but there's a later one that's photo ID comes under the building. So I wasn't sure. I don't think so either. I think the ID is just photo. Well, you never know.
Never go to digital
You know these
age.
days, you know, see photo ID under closing documentation.
Yeah,
That's of the building.
There's one place on the checklist and one place on one of the applications. And the only reason I've always asked for the photo IDs out of
So we don't
a
have to
situation I had a number of years ago where somebody came in with a paper ID that wasn't a photo ID and turned out not to be that person.
Aha, that would do it.
Got stung once.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of paranoia on my part.
So
Experience.
so you're really quite well set with this? This is ready to go through, Jim, this is all ready to?
Yeah, I believe the partnership would like to have the draft ad approved so that they can either put it in the newspaper or on the website so that we can try and locate a prospective, property owner.
Okay, so do we need a motion for that? Is that a consensus?
Draft ad?
The draft ad is on there.
Move that we approve the rental rehab program application material presented by the Affordable Housing Partnership, subject to the review of the town solicitor in consultation with our RI Housing if necessary.
Second.
Motion to say Tom Hanson.
Yeah, Jerry, one question, I was going over this may be late in the game to ask this. These are grants or are they loans?
Basically, they're grants, but they can, what you can do is create like a forgivable loan. So if somebody does not say, somebody gets in the program and they say, yeah, I'm gonna keep this for 30 years and it's gonna be affordable, and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, and 5 years down the line says, yeah, I can get a lot more rent than this, and too bad. The deed restriction should have the availability to put a lien on the property. At that time, some of the wording in some of the agreements that they signed for the grant should sit there and say, in the case that they break the covenants of the
It
agreement,
does say that in the default.
they have to pay back the money plus interest.
My question was, so there's not a repayment thing?
No, there's not a repayment.
That,
Say somebody bought, let's say had $30,000, just throwing out figures, $30,000 for 30 years. And each year, a certain percentage, I think it works out to be 30, comes off that balance. In other words, next year, in year 2, they'd owe $28,000. Year 3, they'd owe $27,000 if they backed out of that thing.
okay, that was my question. I didn't know if they were paying this back, because if there was an early repayment. My question was, my thought was, if I borrowed $20,000 and I pay it back in 5 years, do I still have to follow the 30-year issue?
Oh, yeah, no, there's no payments on it.
So it's strictly, basically a grant
Right.
for the 30 years, and then if you break that, you automatically just stop paying the 3%.
Right, you start paying that, and it gives you something that you can get back.
Okay.
It is, that's the only way.
Well, that was what was holding me up, I saw grant loan,
Yeah.
so I was like, okay, is this?
And that's the only way I can figure out how to describe it.
Well, I didn't want it to end up being a cheap loan.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
you can't get a loan for 3%. So, I mean, that's why when I was going through it again, that just popped, I said, well, I could get this stuff for 3%.
The city of Providence has done that for years with their home funds. That when they put an affordability clause in there, the affordability clause states that they break the covenants or sell a property, that one or two things can happen. If they sell the property, the next owner can go on with the covenants of that piece of property. Or if they don't, it has to be paid off. Or any
Pay off
time,
that remaining balance.
any time that the landlord says, gee, I'm not gonna give you the monitoring information you need to prove that my tenants are legitimate. Then you can sit there and say, okay, now you owe us X amount.
Yeah, it's like a recapture. Rhode Island Housing has a recapture provision.
Yeah.
It's a recapture, yeah. So is Rhode Island Housing the monitoring agent?
Rhode Island Housing is the person who certifies all the housing agents, housing monitoring agents. I think there's 11 of them, 7 or 11 of them in the state right now. They're all monitored and approved, certified through Rhode Island Housing. I don't know if Rhode Island Housing does its own now or not.
Yeah, it could, yeah. Okay. All right, so Sylvia made the motion, it was second, and I'm not a question, who's all second. Sylvia, I can't remember, did you list all 5, or do you think we have to?
Yes, well, I did.
Did you? Okay, good. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Sorry, Daisy.
Okay. Last public forum. Anyone out there wishing to do? Motion to adjourn. Scott.
I'll remember that if I get back in town. I just wanted to suggest, I don't get a chance, I worked earlier today, so I was able to come. Pamela Crandall died recently, and she was a resident of Wesley, but for many years, of course, she was in the Crandall house. Back when my father's aunt was cook for the Crandall family. A very prominent person, a very accomplished lady, and very involved with the X-ray line for many years. And I think it would be a good gesture for the town council to turn in her memory, Pamela Crandall. Certainly a very civic-minded person, and it would be a very good gesture. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Move that we adjourn in memory of Pam Crandall.
Second.
And I'd like to discuss it. Yeah. Yeah, just for the minutes. Scott, you did a great job. She was community-minded, and I'll give you an example because there's so many things that she did and always stepped up when it really counted. For instance, it was the housing, it was Comanche Cliffs 2 that came into a stumbling block. At the last minute, they needed $9,000 and had 3 weeks to raise it. And HUD said, if you can't raise if you can't raise $9,000 in your community in 3 weeks, then you're not getting the project. So that was my little job to do. And we did raise the money, but Pam Crandall, when I went to see her about it, she stepped up and gave us $3,000. And that made all the difference. And that's how she was. And that's Pam Crandall.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.